This is The KJ Show. The KJ Show with host Dr. Katherine Johnson is a mix of breaking news and practical advice on the many ways in which the energy industry can affect you and your family. Katherine will combine energy updates and conversations with leaders in the energy efficiency community. So please welcome your host, Dr. KJ.
Hello and welcome to the KJ Show on my new YouTube channel. Thanks so much for tuning in. Today I'm talking about an interesting combination that people don't always know about, that saving water actually saves energy. And I do have a guest that I'm going to bring in later in the show today, Bernard Emby, who is a CEO of a company that has Grid Touch that's actually invented a new way of helping us reduce the time we spend in showers, which is ideal for folks with teenage girls and others who have take long showers. But I always like to get started with something first, fun, kind of breaking news, as you cannot make this up. So I was going through my emails and I got this text from that sounded like the world was ending. It was from NASA and it said, NASA says the Earth is going to run out of oxygen. What? I'm like, what in the world? So it's a great example of how they love to scare us about climate and weather and things like that. But it's actually kind of, if you go into the facts and you dig a little deeper, you actually figure out that guess what? In 2 billion years, we're going to run out of oxygen. Well, I don't think any of us care what happens in 2 billion years. But it was a Japanese study that was done. And NASA, though, instead of saying reasonableness or having some sense of objectivity, they just go to we're running out of oxygen and to try scaring us all. So anyway, according to this new study by NASA, it was done by Kazu Osaki and from Toho University and Christopher Reinhardt from Georgia Tech. And they actually said they even know when we're going to run out of oxygen. Okay. I still don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, but I mean, it's kind of inevitable, isn't it? If the sun crashes into the planet or something. So anyway, they sought to model the far future of the Earth's atmosphere. The team discovered that the Earth's oxygen levels will eventually collapse to a fraction of what they were as the sun grows brighter over time. Well, I've heard other theories that the sun's going to, burn out and then we're all going to be dead. So the end of the day, we don't really know how it's going to end, but it's going to be way far in the future. According to their simulations, the oxygenated phase of our planet's atmosphere will last for about 1 billion more years. So no need to get worrisome. No need to pack up all your stuff. No need to plan your funeral. This is, we got billions. We got a while ways to go before it's going to rapidly transition back to the environment reminiscent of the ancient past, as in what it was before it became Earth. Which is an interesting theory. I don't know if I believe it or not, but the studies actually combined a climate model, which is why I'm talking about it, with a comprehensive biochemical model of oxygen, carbon, and phosphorus, sulfur, and methane cycles. Very complex. They ran various scenarios to account for uncertainties in the planet's surface processes and internal chemistry. And I talked about last week's show, or 2 weeks show ago, how scenarios are all built around assumptions. And if you have to have the right assumptions to make sure that the scenarios are realistic. I'm not sure they are, but they basically said that the same overarching picture became true because they ran all these different scenarios, and it came that long-term carbon cycle of the Earth pulls carbon dioxide out of the air quickly. Okay. And that ultimately cuts off the possibility for photosynthesis, which of course means all the plants die, which of course means we all die. According to the study, the estimated remaining lifespan of our planet is plus or minus 1.82 billion years. Well, the interesting thing about this study is no one's going to know if they're right because plus or minus 1 billion years, who knows where we're going to be? We may be in another planet entirely. I mean, we just launched a rocket that's headed for Mars. Who knows where we're going to be in 1 billion years? And according to the study, the estimated remaining lifespan says that plants require carbon dioxide from photosynthesis and the levels fall low enough. Global photosynthesis is preventing from happening. This is a nice little chart of how the animals and humans, exhale CO2, which then the plants use to create oxygen. It's a wonderful symbiotic relationship. But if, these researchers are predicting way in the future that it's going to fail. Why in the world would somebody I don't understand the benefit of the study. Let me just say that. The researchers also project that the future of our planet's atmosphere will very likely be similar to how it was before complex life evolved. In other words, we're going to go back in time. We're going to be back to the primordial soup of microbes, and all of the history of us will be gone. This type of hostile environment will be challenging for the plant life and the animals. What I'm wondering is, if we go back to the primordial soup, or then are we going to also have a whole new chain of dinosaurs coming in, a whole new evolutionary process? Because that's the reason dinosaurs got so big, is they had so much oxygen and such big plants. So are we going to just like restart a billion years from now? It's an interesting idea. The bottom line is, far from getting something we don't need to worry about right now, though if you read the NASA headline, you should be scared. Who knows if we've already achieved interplanetary civilization or been wiped off the earth by our own hands. Yet the study revealed the oxygen-rich atmosphere won't be around forever, and that's a concern. This is why I sometimes wonder what we're spending our money on. But that's what happens. And then another thing I thought, so anyway, I just think that it's interesting that, yes, eventually the earth will not have oxygen. Okay. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm Dr. Katherine Johnson, your host. You're watching The KJ Show on my new YouTube channel with me, Dr. KJ, and I'll be right back.
What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery, or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to easysense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's easysense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness: Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals.
And welcome back to the KJ Show. You're watching me, Dr. Katherine Johnson, on my new YouTube channel, and thanks so much for tuning in. Today's episode is talking about something that was coined a few years ago called the water energy nexus. And it was actually an interesting idea that was developed about 10, 15 years ago, and the Department of Energy really embraced the idea. And what it basically shows is that, or demonstrates that, there's an interplay, kind of, they actually call it in the EPA pages, a delicate ballet of fascinating interplay between water and energy, two most vital resources. So water is obviously essential for generating energy, and I would say generating life too. And energy is critical for actually managing our water supply. And a lot of people don't know that. In fact, I'm going to talk a little bit more about that later in the segment, how water is really a very important element of generating electricity and using to propel electricity, especially. So according to the International Energy Agency, or IEA, global electricity consumption is rising, and they're going to think it's going to rise to 1.4 terawatt hours. Now, that's a lot of energy by 2040, going from 98 to 2020, which is basically a 50% increase in in electricity consumption in 20 years. Part of that is because we're having all these moves towards beneficial electrification, which I've talked about in previous shows. But But as the energy usage increases, so does water scarcity, intensifies. Water reuse and desalination are actually key solutions to offset water scarcity. And so currently, desalination accounts for about 6% of global energy consumption. And that's basically places that they take the salt out of the water because they don't have fresh water. And especially in places like Abu Dhabi, with projections that it could rise to 23% by 2040. So energy consumption is going to increase, water scarcity is going to increase, and that means that 60% overall global consumption. Hmm. We have an interesting challenge. So, approximately 45% of all water withdrawals in the United States are attributed to power generation. This includes cooling in thermal power plants and the water needed for hydroelectric generation. Yeah, we use water to generate electricity too. And so, what's happened is people kind of forget the disconnect. And then I have to say, the EPA did a really great job. Hopefully, they'll still be around to continue doing this good work. Is they actually talked about they have this program called WaterSense, where they basically are, quote, making the drops to watts connection, where it's time to think about a new way about energy. And thank goodness their websites are still up, but they basically have a lot of interesting tips about why water and energy consumption is important to even everyday consumers like us. And that, it's important to think about, especially if you are worried about droughts and water scarcity and even climate change. So they said that the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency's WaterSense, it's an EPA label, basically tells you how to use less water, and also how to use and also save money and save on your energy bill at the same time. So many Americans know that they should save energy, we should save water, but they don't know how to do it. So there's a lot of interesting ways we can do it, and I'm going to talk to Bernie Embry next segment, and he has a whole new way of helping us save energy and conserve water. But there's all kinds of different ways to do it. It takes the energy from the heat pump to heat, treat, and deliver water that we use every day. We turn the bathroom lights on. We turn on the shower without realizing that they're related to each other. And that on average, the annual energy used to deliver and treat water for 10 households could power a refrigerator for more than 2 years. And the refrigerator is one of the largest consuming appliances we have. Think about that. The annual energy used to deliver and treat water for 10 households could power our refrigerator for 2 years. That's an awful lot of energy. And that's just one estimate. There's also, you need heat water for showering, bathing, shaving, cooking, cleaning. That also requires a lot of energy. And this is homes with electric water heaters too, spend 1/4 of their electric bills just to heat the water. Um, we can put up the pie chart. That's fine. So this is how much water we use nationally, and it basically says that household usage. Basically, breaks down the usage of faucets, showers, toilets, other uses, and clothes washing and leaking. And that's another thing. Leaking pipes can also be very expensive, and I'm not even talking about irrigation in your lawns and those types of things too that also use water. So it's an interesting chart. I think we have another chart too. Yes. So I'm not expecting to read this, but this basically is an analysis that the EPA did that estimates the cost of water around the country, because water rates vary around the country, and then also the usage of how much water is used around the country. And I thought it was an interesting graph to show how much data there is out there about water and energy usage around the country. I think we have one more. Yes. Yes. Okay. Zach, any more on this one or not? Okay. So you can take it down. All right. So the Energy Star developed this really interesting program called WaterSense, and it basically is developed in 2006, and it has helped customers save more than a cumulative 1.5 trillion gallons of water and 32.6 billion in water and energy bills since its inception. That is a very interesting and significant number. And, we talk about all the different ways that we spend money on things, but this is actually a big number that should get our attention and should make us realize that water is a very precious resource and can be very expensive, especially considering we need energy to deliver it. WaterSense has helped customers save um, uh, all this money, and they've also come up with a lot of different tips and ideas that we're going to talk about with Bernie in the next segment. But basically, I wanted to sort of point out that people don't realize that water and energy really do go hand in hand. And it's important to us understand that rather than just turning on the shower, yeah, go ahead. Okay, that's fine. That apparently just taking a shower is something that we don't have to think about. It's just there. It's water. Who cares? But actually, electric utilities and gas utilities too. But electric utilities that actually spend an awful lot of money doing water conservation programs as well as electric conservation programs, because obviously if they can reduce consumption, that's good for everyone. Another thing that's really interesting is that electric utilities have figured out is that if you preheat the water heaters and water heaters, you can use them to reduce peak loads, called demand response. And the water heater is basically a battery that can store energy until it's needed at a different time. So it's an interesting little fact that electric utilities have been focusing on reducing water consumption in many of their programs for the very same reasons that we want to save energy and to save money. Thanks so much for this. I'll be talking more about this in the next segment with my guest Bernard Emby. Come right back.
Did you know that your beliefs create your entire reality, but it's the subconscious beliefs that do most of the creating? Belief shifter and life coach Shiraz can help you identify those limiting beliefs and eliminate them, often in a single session.
Like it was almost instant, like I had relief right away.
Creating better health, relationships, careers, and finances. Let Shiraz help you step out of safety and into awareness.
Definitely something's happening. It's like a flow inside. It feels good.
Whether in person or online, Shiraz provides personal coaching, belief shifting. Visit Shiraz at energeticmagic.com or call 416-529-7429. Energetic Magic. Find your greater happiness. Be well. Be aware. Be magical.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of The Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on The Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
And welcome back to the KJ Show with me, Dr. KJ, and my new YouTube channel. And today I have a guest with me, Bernard Emby, who is the CEO of TouchGrid. TouchGrid, is that what it is, Bernie?
Yep. Yeah.
And I think I can call you. You want Bernard or Bernie? Do you care?
Bernie's good.
Bernie's good. Okay. So we've known each other for several years because you tend to take up interesting energy challenges, develop solutions, and then go to the next one. So that's how we've known each other for a long time. But I wanted to first sort of say, I have some graphs about how much water showers use, but I want to sort of what led you to get into this particular area of energy use, because you used to do a lot on plug loads. So it was just kind of an interesting transition. So tell me how you got started.
Well, I guess the original idea really came about. I've got 3 teenage daughters, and anybody that has kids, especially daughters with long hair, is a constant battle with the amount of time spent in the shower. And so this was a kind of a sore point in the family, 20, 30-minute showers. And so it was something that was really kind of bugging me a little bit. And I looked into the water energy nexus, and really hot water is where energy and water, hot water is basically our most valuable water. And then 2 years ago, I moved back to Australia. I'm in Western Australia, which is probably quite similar to the climate in Texas. We're sort of a hot, fairly arid geography, and water is very precious here. So people here are much more aware of water. There's a greater awareness about the need for conservation. And also, the bulk of the water heating that's done here is done with natural gas. So we
Ah,
have water scarcity. We have most of the water heating done with natural gas. And about 50% of the water in Western Australia is desalinated. So it's like the most energy dense water you're going to find probably anywhere just about on the planet.
and that must also mean that your costs are pretty high too, because desalination adds quite a bit of cost to the water bill every week, every month, correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
S- So, Zach, could you put up the chart that I have about how much water is in a shower? Just to sort of say, I got this. This is actually something I thought, since we're talking about showers, and we'll get into more about that in a minute, but the average use, according to the best estimates from the EPA, is 58 gallons per person per year, which is 1.9 trillion gallons in the United States, which is equivalent to almost 3 million Olympic swimming pools. Is that a fair assessment from just the United States perspective? And I know globally it would be even bigger, correct, Bernie?
Yeah. It's a very substantial amount of water.
It,
In a lot of homes, especially in multifamily, showering accounts for most of the water use.
okay, that's good
Yeah.
to know. And so, do we have the next chart about? Why don't you tell about what? So you had this problem. You have these three wonderful daughters who like to take hot, long
Hmm.
showers with long hair. I have one myself that used to do that all the time, um, much to the chagrin of her brothers. So why don't we put up the charts about the Shower Star, and you can tell me a little bit about what this is. It's a cute app, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. So I think having sort of worked in energy efficiency for a long time, there's this, and sort of being relatively new to water efficiency, in these sort of circles, a lot of the measures that people are familiar with, low flow shower heads and dual flush toilets. A lot of these measures have already been done, and so if you're kind of talking to people in the industry, they'll tell you that behavior is the kind of final chapter in the energy efficiency or the water efficiency journey. So the idea was really to come up with a simple way to prompt people how to be more mindful of their shower time. Obviously, as I said, it's hot water is your most valuable water, just in the production of water, the distribution of water, then the heating of water. Still, while we're making as societies, we're making big moves towards electrification. The reality is that the bulk, certainly here in Australia anyway, and places like Southern California, the bulk of water heating is still done with natural gas, and natural gas again accounts for it's typically the single largest source of carbon emissions in a home. So we've got this situation, with water, hot water being the most valuable thing. We've done a lot of the efficiency measures like low flow shower heads. The market is kind of saturated with these types of measures, and really behavior is where the rubber hits the road. And so we decided to come up with this solution using a traffic light style timer, which most people are familiar with. Green is start, amber is halfway, red is stop. And we built a lot of behavioral science into the product, to nudge people when they were actually taking showers. Um, so a lot of people are familiar with shower timers. They've been around for decades, really. But the problem with shower timers is people forget to use them. They use them for 2 or 3 days. They get into the shower after a couple of days and they forget to turn the thing
Right.
upside down. There's the sand
And
timers.
and a shower timer is
And
basically an egg timer.
yeah,
It's the same thing for how long you boil your hard-boiled eggs for breakfast. So, and it
pretty
isn't
much.
really, it's not, and the other thing, and this is my own personal problem, is that my opinion, a lot of people who get low flow shower heads from utility kit programs take them out because they don't like
Yeah,
them. because they're
Yeah.
uncomfortable, or they're, if you get them in hotels, they can, depending on the setting, they can be very kind of rough. Maybe that's a way to encourage you to have shorter showers, but people are pretty comfort driven, and they love their rainfall showers that, make them feel important and wonderful, and steam saunas. I mean, these are things that, people in America certainly treasure. So putting in low flow shower heads, most of the insulation, it has a lower persistence rate in insulation than, say, other things that you could do. So I thought this was another way to kind of get around the fact that you can still have your wonderful shower head. It's just going to be timed, or you can control your, limit your usage. Is that really the theory, isn't it?
Yeah, I think just on the issue of shower heads, there's a lot of evidence around that shows that if you reduce the flow rate to a certain point, it can actually be counterproductive. People feel like they're not being able to get the shampoo out their hair or wash themselves properly, so they need a certain level of flow.
Yeah.
And again, if it drops too low, then they end up, it's counterproductive. They spend more time in the shower. So there is an optimal level. And I think what's interesting with low flow shower heads is that there are good ones and there are bad ones. So the key is to find some of the newer ones are pretty good. So I think that's part of the mix. But the other thing is that there's also especially there's been a sort of a lack of an increasing lack of awareness of water conservation, certainly in parts of Australia. We haven't had drought here since the millennium. We call it the millennium drought here. And so with desalination coming into the picture, a lot of people just think that fresh water is unlimited. And
Right.
so if you look at the data around shower times, it's
Right.
increased dramatically. You've got people taking 15, 20-minute showers multiple times a week.
Yes.
Nearly a quarter of people in Australia are showering more than twice a day. I
Wow.
find that number absolutely staggering. And
I
when you
guess
think about
wow,
sorry, go
that's
ahead.
so. We're gonna continue this conversation. We have some more pictures that we'll show, but we're gonna be take a
Sure.
quick break, and then we'll come back and continue our conversation with Bernie and his shower star. So thanks so much. We'll be right back. I'm Katherine Johnson. You're watching the KJ Show with Dr. KJ.
Mike Zorich, a three-time California state champion in Greco-Roman wrestling at 114 pounds. Mike, blind since birth, was born in Hartford, Connecticut. He was a six-time national placer, including 2 seconds, 2/3, and 2/4. He also won the Veterans Folk-Style Wrestling twice at 152 pounds. In all these tournaments, he was the only blind competitor. Nancy Zorich, a creative spirit whose talents have taken her to the stage and into galleries and exhibitions in several states. Her father, a commercial artist who shared his instruments with his daughter and helped her fine-tune her natural abilities, influenced her decision to follow in his footsteps. Ms. Zorich has enjoyed a fruitful career doing what she loves. Listen Saturday mornings at 12 Eastern for the Nancy and Mike Show for heartwarming stories and interesting talk. Master of words, powerful player. What life-changing words can Dr. Janet Smith Warfield pull out of her magical toolbox that just might mysteriously open a door you never knew was there? A door to free yourself from fear forever. Transform your rage into right action. Release your guilt. Position you into a life of freedom, purpose, passion, power, and peace. All quite suddenly, unexpectedly, and almost miraculously, with no effort on your part. Join Dr. Janet on Dancing with Words, Dancing with Wisdom, as she and her guests show you how words map our experiences, immersing you in a sound bath that relaxes your muscles, opens your mind, and supports you in co-creating your extraordinary life.
Hello and welcome back to the KJ Show with Dr. KJ. That's me, Katherine Johnson, on my new YouTube channel. And today I have a guest, Bernard Emby, who has invented a really interesting new device to help us help us cut our shower time, right? So let's put up the next graph and continue our conversation, Bernie. So you invented this shower. It's basically an app that times how long your shower should be. Is that, am I oversimplifying it?
Well, it's a combination of a piece of hardware, which is this device, which is
Mhm.
the shower star device itself. So that fixes onto your shower. There's a mounting cradle. It just zip ties
Yeah.
onto the shower head or the piping. There's a device here. It's a USB. I'm just going to turn it on here. You can
Woo.
see it light up. Um,
Hmm.
and so that fixes to the shower head or the piping, and
Hmm.
that's what provides the prompts all the time. So you don't need to use your phone all the time. Each time you get into the shower, you just shower as per normal. Turn the faucet on, and water starts flowing. It senses that water's flowing through the pipe, and then it just starts this timer automatically. It doesn't. You don't need a plumber to. It doesn't insert into the piping or anything. It just sits up next to the piping and senses water flowing through the pipe and starts automatically and runs this traffic light timer. So that's the main thing, and from a behavior change perspective, that's where most of the change happens. Is you've got to kind of nudge. We call them behavioral nudges. You've
Yep.
got to nudge people each time they're showering, and it just makes them mindful of the time they're spending in the shower. And once people are mindful, they sort of the traditional or the typical time that's recommended by water utilities in Australia is 4 minutes for a
Oh,
shower.
wow.
Once you actually become aware of 4 minutes, 4 minutes is actually quite a long time.
Yes, it
Um,
is.
yeah.
Yes.
Um, so we have the piece of hardware that sort of fixes to the shower. Then we have an app. The
Hmm.
app allows you to configure it. So for example, if you have young kids and you want to make it a bit more intrusive, you want to make the lights flash for longer, you want it to beep at you, you can do that. If you just need a gentle nudge, you don't want it to be too intrusive, you can also do that. So you can set up the timers and
Right.
when the
And
alerts happen and so on.
and this app, I think we have other pictures too about how you've actually
Mhm.
demonstrated this. Now you've worked you're piloting these, you're testing this application, this measure, so to speak, in different with different utilities around the world, right? I went on
Yes.
the
Yeah.
website and found all kinds of interesting things. So tell me a little bit about the kinds of work you're doing to sort of test this in the field and what you found out.
So we built a tool, what we call a field trial mode, into the product, and
Mhm.
we've been doing some pilots with various utilities around the world. And basically, what happens is you fix the unit to the pipe, and all it does is it actually logs the people's behavior. So it typically logs maybe 30 showers. It establishes a baseline, so it knows how people are showering, and then after 30 showers, it turns on the alerts. And so in this chart, what you can see is the blue is what we call the field trial or the baseline stage.
Mhm.
And then in the gray is once the alerts start turning on, you can actually see the difference between the baseline or what we call pre and post,
Yes.
and you see this decline in shower time. So if you look at the chart in the top right corner, you'll see this sort of gradual decline down to the right. So as people become more comfortable with the product, they're getting nudged on a daily basis, they become more mindful of it, you start to see people changing their behavior. It doesn't happen overnight,
No,
but you
no.
just start to see this gradual change in behavior. And so in this trial that we've done here in Western Australia, the average shower time is reduced by 3 minutes a shower.
Wow.
That might not sound a lot to some of your listeners, but that is an enormous amount. When you multiply that out across the population, that is an enormous amount of water and energy that can be saved.
And we have some other charts too here from the field trials, I
Mm.
believe. Um,
Yep.
yeah. No, we don't. What about the next segment? I thought we had some more. This is why I loved live TV. You never know what you're going to get. So basically, I did see on your website, and maybe I didn't include it, but you have been done some pilots with, I believe it was Hawaii, utilities in Hawaii.
We haven't started anything with Hawaii. We've got some conversations with them. Obviously, Hawaii is an interesting one because of their water scarcity. They've actually had some contamination problems with some of their water sources, but also from an energy perspective, a lot of their energy is imported. They have some of the most expensive energy in the country. But we have in terms of stateside trials, we've got a small pilot going in Southern California at the moment. It's a small multifamily trial, and it's very similar sort of results to this. You sort of see this decline of around 2 to 3 minutes over the trial period.
And what has been so you've been able to get some traction, I guess, in Australia with utilities. I know you're
Yep.
trying to come into the United States. We've had several conversations about testing the product out in some of the utilities that I work with. Have you
Mm.
had much luck in getting interest from, say, the gas utilities, especially?
Yeah, I think the most interest we've had is really from the water utilities in some of the drier geographies. Certainly here in Australia, there's a lot of interest from the water utilities. Electric utilities tend to be a little bit more wary of behavioral measures. Water utilities are very comfortable with behavioral measures. Um, on the gas side of things, that's where we've had the most interest from energy utilities. There's sort of the selection of energy saving measures for electric utilities is significantly broader than it is for gas
Hmm.
utilities. So
Yeah.
gas utilities sometimes I think feel a little bit unloved in terms of the options they have. So this is a sort of a very interesting option for them because there's this direct correlation between water heating and
Natural gas.
showering.
Yeah, actually,
Yeah.
I was, as I mentioned earlier, off camera. I've done several evaluations for programs for gas utilities that were looking into this new. I forgot the name of it, but it's like unlimited showers, where they basically have a
Mhm.
shower that goes on forever and ever. And I was at a conference and discovered that this is a huge concern to not only the gas utilities but also the water utilities. And so the gas utility actually hired me because the water rates were increasing in Missouri where I was doing the study.
Mhm.
And they were, that was more of a concern almost than the gas usage. And we
Mhm.
don't promote unlimited showers because guess what? That
Mhm.
also means high bills. But anyway, we're going to take another break and then we'll be right back with Bernie, my name is Dr. Catherine Johnson. You're watching the KJ Show, and we'll be right back with my guest, Dr. Bernard Emby. Thank you so much.
Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness: Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Did you know that your beliefs create your entire reality, but it's the subconscious beliefs that do most of the creating? Belief shifter and life coach Shiraz can help you identify those limiting beliefs and eliminate them, often in a single session.
Like it was almost instant. Like I had relief right away.
Creating better health, relationships, careers, and finances. Let Shiraz help you step out of safety and into awareness.
Definitely something's happening. It's like a flow inside. It feels good.
Whether in person or online, Shiraz provides personal coaching, belief shifting. Visit Shiraz at energeticmagic.com or call 416-529-7429. Energetic Magic. Find your greater happiness. Be well. Be aware. Be magical.
Welcome back to the KJ Show with me, Dr. Catherine Johnson, on my new YouTube channel. Today, my guest is Bernard Emby, who is a Mr. Shower Man. I tell you, he developed a really interesting product that we've been talking about today. And I want to get into some of the behavior science behind the app, because it's really trying to nudge people to change behavior. And the best way to change behavior is to do something for like 30 days. That's what they say, to get a good habit. You have to do something for about 30 days, which I guess, Bernie, is the reason you have a 30-day baseline. Is that one of the ways for just making sure you're getting the good data? And then tell me about the
Yeah.
behavior. Tell me about the
Well,
behavior.
yeah, I think one of the issues around showering is that it's something that typically everybody does at least once a day. Some people a bit less, some people a lot more. But for the most part, I think the assumption is most people take one shower a day. And so what we need to do is to not to have a sort of too harsh intervention, but is to use this concept in behavioral science, which is called behavioral nudges. And this is just every day, just kind of constantly reminding people in a gentle way. Um, I think around behavioral science it's it's almost equal parts science and art. Is if you make things too intrusive, people rebel, and then they end up taking the measure out, throwing it in the bin, or
Yep.
putting it in a drawer somewhere. And if it's not intrusive enough, it doesn't have any impact. So there's this art to striking the right balance, to find something that is going to nudge people just on enough so that you kind of prompt this behavior. And so I think that's what we've got right with the shower style product, is we have this product which just basically it works automatically, so the user doesn't have to do anything, and that I can't state that the importance of that enough, because this shower timers have been part of programs for years, but they just don't work. So this having this sensing capacity in there, so people just shower as per normal, and so what you see is that these daily gentle nudgings are
Hmm.
really what produce the result. And you need it for a period of time to get people into the swing of things. What
Right.
we found is, which is quite interesting, is that people that use the product for a period of time is they become quite reliant on it. And we've had people that travel for work, they go and they're in a hotel and they sort of said to us, well, I was showering and I felt kind of lost because I didn't have the prompts. So once it sort of comes, once it works its way into your sort of your daily routine, people become quite aware of it, and that's really what the key is just these gentle nudges to make people more mindful, and that's what seems to produce the biggest result.
Right. And you're absolutely right about behavioral programs. A lot of gas utilities that I've worked with over the years have done what they call home energy reports, but there's always
Mhm.
mixed feelings about them, because some people think that they're comparing themselves to their neighbors, which in some jurisdictions seems rude, and they don't really understand it's
Mhm.
not their actual neighbor, it's neighbors like them.
Mhm.
So there's been some
Mhm.
pushback on programs, and sometimes, once they get a monthly report about how to save energy and it stops, they revert back to their old ways. So there's no
Yeah.
real behavior change. And that's one of
Yeah.
the I've been skeptical about programs that, once you stop the behavior change, it goes away. So this sounds like a really
Mhm.
great way to build the habit and then reinforce it every time to really make
Yeah.
a lasting. I think this, from an energy evaluation point of view, would be a lot more rigorous in terms of being able to quantify the savings and have the savings persist over time. I got a little too technical there, but that's what I think about when I think about programs that we can actually measure the savings and you can demonstrate it. And what was the other thing that you were talking about? You said the everything shower. Remind me again what that is?
Well, the everything shower is, well, having three teenage daughters, I'm aware of it. The everything shower is a kind of a social media trend that started a couple of years ago,
Oh my
and
goodness.
I think it was originally on TikTok, and there's this sort of beauty regimen which has started where someone takes a shower. It's typically younger girls. They take a shower and they wash their hair, they condition, they have a face mask, they have a body scrub, they shave their legs, manicure, pedicure,
Oh
and
my
it
goodness.
lasts. I mean, there's varying sort of reports of somewhere between an hour and 3 hours in the shower. And if you're in the conservation space and you think about what that means in water and energy terms, it's a bit mind-boggling, really. Um,
Wow.
I
And
think it's a. Sorry, go ahead.
like you're kind of like creating the spa experience in your house. But,
Yeah,
but first of all, most young teenage girls don't need a lot of beauty regimens. They're pretty beautiful as they are. So, it's later people like me that might need more help. But the other thing is, it is very when you have somebody in the shower for 3 hours, it could become a point of family conflict, especially if you don't have that many showers and you have other people that want to use the facilities or want to use the bathroom. Or I can't imagine my sons being patient with their sister, if she had done that for 3 hours. That would be nobody would be happy in my house.
yeah, yeah. There's clearly a sort of a social dynamic there. That's not really my area of expertise. I think that the everything shower is probably just a highlight of it's a sort of almost the worst case example of where the sort of lack of awareness of
Mhm,
the water energy nexus is. But I think it is also like here in Australia, there is this there's this Generation Z that have grown up with an abundance of everything, and they take what they turn on the tap and they just assume water's coming out of the tap. They haven't lived through drought. So there's that. There is a sort of a lack of awareness in parts of Australia. I'm not
mhm.
sure about the US
Oh, yes,
about
definitely.
general
Well,
education programs.
yeah, in California, there's been droughts for years, and,
Yep,
you go to a restaurant in California, you have to ask for a glass of water. They won't automatically give it to you,
yep,
and they've been
yep,
promoting water conservation for a long time in California, and then, of course, we
mm,
had the droughts and the wildfires, which sort of destroyed whole communities. So, yeah, where
mm,
water is scarce in the United States, I think they do a better job of promoting it, but I think this would be a really good solution too. So
yep,
we're gonna go to the last segment, and I'm gonna talk a little bit about the ways we can save energy with water besides but tell me
mhm.
where you can get your shower star. Is it available yet in stores or will it be? What's the rollout time?
We're working with utilities stateside in programs, so it's not generally available. In the next couple of weeks, it'll be available on Amazon.
Oh, cool.
Um, but that's the sort of the starting point at the moment. But we've just been basically working in trials with US based water and energy utilities for now.
Okay, we'll pick up the conversation in just a minute. You're watching the KJ Show with me, Dr. Katherine Johnson, and my guest today, Bernie Embry, and we'll be right back with a kind of a wrap up of water conservation strategies.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of The Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on The Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to easysense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders orders. That's easysense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation.
And welcome back to the KJ Show. You're with me, Dr. Katherine Johnson, your host on my new YouTube channel. And today we've been talking about the water energy nexus, or calling saving water saves energy. And I wanted, with my guest, Bernard Emby, but I wanted to sort of close out this segment with some real practical tools and tips about how you can actually save energy. Of course, you can, when Bernie's product is available on Amazon, I would suggest probably getting it. But I also had some benefits. I know you can't really read it all, but basically what this is coming back from the EPA data, that basically you're really helping financially, lowering your bills, helping obviously with environmental concerns, and also having some, just basically being a good citizen in the community. Then I have some other another graph, I believe, that talks a little bit about ways you can actually save energy in your home. This is this is, if we started saving water, this is the type of resources, or this is the type of benefits we would reap, saving water for future generations. And I know, Bernie, this is kind of close to what you're saying about Australia, where if we just started taking shorter showers, we could actually, help reduce our water usage tremendously, as you were saying. Billions and billions of dollars, actually. And is that what you're kind of trying to help to do with your new product?
Yeah, I mean, I think that certainly from an emissions perspective, using less gas to heat water, there's an immediate emissions reduction benefit for all of us. More water for the environment, and as you mentioned earlier, that's producing water and distributing water and then treating it is very energy intensive. And then I think for a portion of people, just in terms of reducing bills, I mean, hot water is your most valuable water. You're saving
Hmm.
on the your water costs, and also on your energy costs. So shorter
Right.
showers, if you're looking to reduce your bills, shorter showers are the easiest, the quickest way to save money.
Yeah, it's something that is you can do it. It doesn't require a big outlay of cost. And I am going to
Mhm.
plug my book, Your Energy Savings Handbook, which actually has in chapter 7 all the different ways in which you can reduce your energy water usage. And when I've written this book, and it's on Amazon. It's also on my website, johnsonconsults.com. But basically, it has a lot of the different ways in which water is used in our homes, and the fact that if you're going to go buy an energy efficient, if you're going to go buy a dishwasher or washer and dryer, make sure it's energy efficient, Energy Star. Make sure we have now washers and dryers that are using less water, detergents that require less water. So water conservation, I think, is slowly seeping into our consciousness as something that we need to think about, not just from an energy point of view, but from a lifestyle point of view. And the other thing is, I do a lot of work in California over the years, and the droughts are very severe out there. So they're really concerned. I mean, that's one of the more um, progressive utilities in terms of areas where they really are promoting water conservation and low flow toilets. And they even have programs where they promote, you can, have a pay as you save program for water appliances, which is really innovative. So it's last minute here, Bernie. What else do you want us to know about your product? And thanks so much for joining us today. Any closing thoughts?
Um, I think thank you for the opportunity to be here and to speak with you and your listeners, Catherine. Yeah, I think maybe just a closing thought is saving water and energy is much simpler than you think, and it starts with small behavioral changes on a daily basis. Whether that's showering, whether that's loading, making sure your dishwasher is loaded, making sure you use a full load in the washing machine. Behavior is really at the core of energy and water efficiency.
And it's just basically common sense, right? Your mom told you to turn off the light switch when you leave the room. It's basically the
Yeah,
common sense that the generations who grew up in the Depression certainly were much better at conserving
yeah,
because they had to.
yeah,
Our generation subsequently have been a little spoiled. But thank you so
yeah.
much for joining today. You've been watching the KJ Show with me, Dr. Katherine Johnson, and my guest, Bernie Emby. Thank you again, and have a wonderful week.
This has been The KJ Show. Tune in next week as Catherine shares her insights to current changes in the energy industry while drawing on her experience as an energy efficiency consultant for the past 30 years. Right here on The KJ Show.